A reading from the Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to St. Matthew. Jesus said, "If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile or a tax collector. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Ushuha la la minaif. So let's listen to what Jesus says. And he gives us a sort of instruction manual of how to deal with interpersonal conflict, I guess. But I also want to pay attention to what he doesn't say. So I'm going to kind of work through some of the things that he tells us to do, and then it's worth sort of noticing, pointing out what we're not supposed to do. Right? And we'll see sometimes the things that are extremely complicated in life really aren't that complicated. They're actually quite simple, and we're the ones that complicate them. So let's see how Jesus kind of makes a simple picture here. If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. All right. If he sins against you, what if he sins against somebody else? What if it doesn't involve you? Mind your own business. If he sinned against you, then the checklist starts. If it has nothing to do with you, it has nothing to do with you. Meaning, you don't get to talk about it. Not to him or to anybody else. Clear? It's very simple for Jesus, and we make it complicated. If he sins against you, though, okay, if you are very directly the victim of his sin, what is his instruction? Go and tell him what he did wrong. What does he not say? Go and tell everybody else. That's called gossip, and that's a sin. Don't do it. And however much your brother sinned against you, that does not give you an excuse to do another sin. Go to him and tell him what he did. Do it. You're not allowed to skip steps either. First things first, you go to the person that sinned against you, even if it's your brother, and you talk to them about it one-on-one, man to man, woman to woman, or whatever. Not everybody else, and not anybody else. And it doesn't make it okay. I don't know how many times I've heard this. When people, I don't talk about people, I just talk about what they do. Exactly the same thing. Same exact sin. If you have a problem with somebody and they did something against you, go and talk to them. If it's not important enough to talk to them about, then let it go. If it's bothering you so much that you have to talk to somebody about it, the person that did it is the one you need to talk to, not anybody else. Because gossip is maybe the deepest and ugliest sin in the Chaldean community. Talk to that person. And if it's not worth talking to that person about, then let it go and move on with your life. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. Good. Now, what does he not say? If you go and tell your brother, this is what you did, and he's, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. He says, you have gained your brother. He does not say, you won. Because this isn't a game or a fight where there's a winner and a loser. This is a family where you want your brother back as your brother. It's not about anger and getting what your anger wants, which is vengeance. That's not, Jesus does not care about that. If he doesn't listen, then take one or two others along with you. Where? Back to the same person that you have a problem with. Why? Not to intimidate them or scare them or make them lose the fight. Take them so that maybe there's witnesses, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. You take 2 or 3 others with you, not to win and not to intimidate. You take them to confirm the truth. Because this isn't about you and your anger, this is about the truth. And if it's not about the truth, then you're not doing what Jesus wants. Then, if he doesn't listen to those witnesses, you still don't get to gossip. Then, if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, then we'll get to that in a second. Then take it to the church. Please go through the first couple steps first. If you have not talked to the person that has offended you, don't call Father Andy or Father Danny. I need you to... No. You do your homework first. If you haven't spoken to this person, it's your job to do it. It's not my job to fix your problems. It's nobody's job. It's your job. And if you haven't spoken to that person, you have to go through it first. Then you bring the 2 or 3 witnesses, hopefully people that have seen things with their own eyes. Then, sure, we'll help it in whatever way we can. Don't skip any steps. Then, if he refuses to talk, to listen even to the church, then you still don't get to talk about him. Then let him be to you as a Gentile or a tax collector, which means pray for him and back away. The same way you wouldn't even know somebody who was just of a different community, not even in the same family. They wouldn't make you mad and they wouldn't make you upset. You wouldn't be holding a grudge. You wouldn't be angry for years over somebody that you never met. That's what Jesus is asking you to do. You don't have to be friends with everybody. He gives you that. Somebody really truly hurt you and you really tried and they just aren't backing down at all, then you get to back away. You still don't get to hate them. You still don't get to gossip against them. You still don't get to hold a grudge. Not if you call yourself a Christian. Now, I want to see this from the other side, though. Because at the end, he says, truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And if you are to exclude somebody and make them as a tax collector or a Gentile, he's saying God is going to see them that way too, maybe. Because we represent, if we are innocent and true, somehow God dwells in us. But I want to see this from the other side. And this is maybe something that's more important for any of us to hear. If somebody comes to you and says, you hurt me, and you close your heart and you don't listen to them, and if they bring other witnesses and they say, look, they're saying that you hurt me, and you close your heart to them, and they bring it before the church, and you close your heart there, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. You will be the one excluded. This is about salvation. And community life is not just about hanging out in the same place. It's about connections with each other. And when we gossip, we hurt that connection with others and we hurt the whole community. We bring other people into something that's none of their business. But when we're the one that did the harm and we do not open our hearts, we are closing our hearts not just to our brothers and sisters, but to God himself. Brothers and sisters, this is a scary gospel. And we need to be scared of it, because the disease that we all have in us down to our bones is not going to come out unless we bring God in and we let him get involved. By his grace, when we receive him today, may the poison that is in our mouth, which is gossip, may it be torn out of our souls so that Christ can dwell in us.